Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Burning Coils. I'm Tyler, this is Justin. I'm sure a lot of you have seen our series on called Talking Ash. It's going to cover everything in the cigar industry, what we carry, stuff like that.
What's new?
Exactly. This is going to be the vaping aspect of it, where we're going to cover the vaping world, what it was, what it is, what it could be, what we could do to help you, questions, answers, stuff like that. So expect a weekly video from us, just like the Talking Ash. And we'll get going. So, vaping.
Vaping's been around for 20 years.
Yeah, it's
if
been,
not longer, from our knowledge.
Yep. And that's just what we know. I mean, a lot of times the common misconception is vaping so new. We don't know what it is. We don't know what's in it. We don't know how healthy it is. So.
At this point, it actually might be 30 years because it was. If you look at research, it's been founded in the 80s in France. What they were using, no one has a clue, but it was around.
Yeah, it was there. And of course, since then, technology, science, it's gotten so much more improved, so much better for you, stuff like that. So, like you said, over in Europe, it was super popular years ago. And then over in America, maybe 10 years or so, that it really started
Space the tin. And I mean, it started off super low powered, low wattage.
I remember. I mean, that's
barely any clouds, just getting that flavor, getting people to switch.
Yep. I remember working, I've been here about 6 years now, 6.5 years, and I remember first working in one of our vape shops up in Hazleton, and we were selling these dual packs of, they were Vape USA pens, very tiny, very small. There were 2 of them for $60, and people thought that was the best deal. We're selling 5 to 10 of them a day, easy. And if you wanted a single one, it was $29.99. So I mean, and people thought they were, 2. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't beat it. So you got 2 of everything, and people thought they were the best things, and then something else came out that wasn't any more powerful, but it looked better.
It looked better, and they thought it performed better, and they went with it.
And then you got your flavor, and you're thinking, oh, the flavor on this is so good. Well, now, how stupid were we? Like, you look at it now, and it's like, wow, those.
Even if you look at it 5 years ago.
Yeah.
For how different it changed, and night and day, like you said. I mean,
5 years ago, even 2 years ago.
With the mech mods and people blowing huge clouds and making O's and different kind of tricks and jellyfish and
and that's. I mean, it's still around. It's still around.
It's just not. Definitely, it's not as big.
Yeah, it's not as big, not as common. Well, that's a good point. I mean, if you look at it, I would imagine even going back to the 80s and 90s with Europe, I'm sure the whole point was to switch over from cigarettes. So it was a smoking alternative, which it still is. It was always a smoking alternative, and it was to help you get off your daily habit of smoking, and
to have almost something a little safer going in your body.
Yeah, better health-wise, doctors are recommending it. I mean, I'm sure there's more so now. I have a lot of customers, I don't know about you, I have a lot of customers that come in saying my doctors told me I have to switch to vaping. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. I've seen reports where people have black lung from smoking for 20, 30 years and switch to vaping, and 6 months later, they're clean, their lungs are cleaned out.
Yep.
They're a little bit healthier, they feel better with themselves.
They can taste and smell their food.
They're sticking with vaping. They're never going back.
Yep. So I mean, as far as we know, so much healthier than smoking. I mean, granted, anything you pump into your body probably isn't perfect.
We're also not scientists, so we don't know exactly how it's going to affect us. But
my running joke, I have a degree in music. All I do is count to 4. The rest of it, that's up to
I have a marketing degree and I'm in retail, so I ain't much better.
We don't do any of that science stuff, but here we are.
We've both been vaping I've been vaping for 5, 6 years. I'm sure you've been vaping around that same time too, and
I feel great.
I feel fine. I've gone through my phases of having every mech mod there was, and now I'm on super low power devices again. So
I mean,
I've been around the circle.
I never went through the mech mod stage.
But you probably went through like the big devices, dual 18650,
I know what they were. I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of customers that were on them. They would come in, and I mean, if going through the different stages, and of course, I mean, if there's any new vapors watching this is all Creek. And
if you have any questions, I guess like we said before, please leave a comment. We'll get back to it.
And we'll get to where that came from and what it was. It's not gonna be Creek for long. So I mean, it all makes sense, and we'll circle around what we're trying to say. But I mean, for a while, like we just said, smoking alternative, get off the cigarettes, and then it turned into more of a hobby. And I think that's where
the big mech mods and
the cloud competitions, and
that's when battery safety was a key. Not that it's not now. but you had to know how to properly charge your batteries
Yep.
and change your batteries, make sure if they were almost on their last cycle to replace the batteries,
Replace the
stuff
batteries.
like that.
And I
That's when
think
if you heard a lot of those bad publicity stunts with vaping, oh, it blew up in my face, it blew up in my
A
hands.
lot of times it was user error.
It was user error, and that's kind of where that came from.
And
And
that's a good
unfortunately,
point.
it's still sticking around with vaping till this day.
And even, but you know what, that's a real good point, because we'll get to that, where the devices coming out now are so technologically advanced with the safety chips and stuff like that. If you happen to make a mistake with your device, or you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, they just shut off. They don't work.
They don't work, they won't
So,
fire.
They won't do anything. They prevent you from really messing up. So that's, again, I mean, we did discuss, people don't know much about it. Of course, if it's today, there's always gonna be that media that tries to attack it, and there's that media that is for it. And if you don't know a lot, then of course you don't really know the background, you don't know what it is.
You might
stuff
be
like
afraid
that.
to start
You're
vaping.
afraid to start, yeah. I mean, it's a,
Because all you might be hearing from the news is a lot of bad stuff about vaping.
yeah, and
You're not really
it's
hearing the
true.
good stuff, so.
Exactly. So that's what we're here for. We're going to go over that good stuff, how beneficial it is, stuff like that. And then after, let's say after that MECMOC stage, where if you were blowing the huge clouds, you're going to these competitions.
You were
I mean,
making your own boilers,
Exactly. I
you
mean,
were
I'm sure.
having Claptons and whatever else,
Yeah.
aliens,
Oh, God,
whatever
yeah.
else was
There's
out there.
so many different things that they did.
Everyone they thought was gonna have better clouds
Yep.
and better flavor
Better
production.
flavor. Yeah. You can't. And that was the whole
And people were
point.
trying
Oh, I
to build
wanna
it as
see
low
what-
as they could ohm-wise.
Yep, and that was another thing, dangerous, but they did it, and it worked, because they knew what they were doing. And I remember that was so big that people would come into, especially when I was working in their vape shops, there was a lounge. So people would come in and they would hang out there all day, and they would put in almost basically a shift with
Oh, I remember going, before I started working here, I remember going to vape shops and hanging out.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
You know,
And
we were there for 8-10 hours a day. We were there after the shop closed, hanging out. Just
Yeah.
we
And
were
then-
a group. We're family at this
yeah, you
point.
hear vaping community a lot. Everyone, it's basically a common lingo. It's like anything. You
And
have
that
that
vaping
common
community
interest.
doesn't go between just people in that shop
No,
or that
it's
store. It's
everywhere.
everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone that is in the vaping industry is in the community.
Yeah,
We're all here to
together.
support each other. We're not here to cutthroat people or anything like that.
Exactly. And everyone is always fully on board with anyone that wants to start.
Absolutely.
Start
And I mean, getting off a point that you said earlier, how devices have changed over the last couple of years. Juice has done the same thing. I remember starting, you literally had tobacco flavors and menthol.
Yep, that was it.
And then all the fruit flavors started coming in. All that stuff has, changed. Custards came in. Custards were a big thing at one point. Cereal flavors.
Yeah, that was your Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles was the one. You had a Fruity Pebbles juice, you never kept it on the shelf.
You always
Everyone
sold
had it, everyone loved it. And you look back at it, it really wasn't that good. I
never liked
it.
cereals.
I don't think it was that great, but for the time, people loved it. And I feel like if those same people, if you asked them now,
Oh,
what
we'd
do you
say
think
the same
of Pebbles?
thing.
They'd say the same thing. Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. Oh
Yeah.
man, this isn't
But
good.
then that has also came into what has been popular for the last year or so with the whole salt nicotine juice.
Yep, and that's right there. Now, you brought the salt nicotine up. That's only, what, about 2 years old?
Yeah, about 2
or so?
years old in the States. It's probably been popular, selling a lot more devices for salt nicks, selling a lot more salt nicks itself, probably over the last year or so, especially since I've been in the company. And, you're talking up a customer, before the pandemic where you didn't have to wear a mask every time a customer walked in the store. You can use your device in front of them and actually show and tell.
Exactly.
And then-
Because it's such a whole different style. I mean, I'm sure you've driven behind someone where you've seen someone on the road where you're looking at their car and you're seeing these huge clouds come out. And I'm sure if you don't vape yourself, you're thinking, how can anyone?
Or if you are the vapor and they look at you like, what is that?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you're looking at people in these cars and you're thinking, oh, how could you possibly take it that big? And thinking, oh, I don't want that. That's too much cloud. That's too much smoke. And that's the thing. It's not smoke. It's not smoke. So it's
Vapor.
not exactly. So it's dense, but it doesn't feel that dense. You're getting a lot of flavor. You're getting a lot of everything, and a lot of smoking itself is hand to mouth, the routine. Oh, I woke up. I want a cigarette with my coffee. stuff like
I'm
that.
at the bar, I want a cigarette with my beer or whatever you're drinking that night.
Exactly.
Vaping can be that same thing. You just have to train yourself.
Exactly. And this is where the salt nicotine, you just said how new that was, about 2 years old. That's where, and to loop this back together, we just talked about how it became a hobby. Well, now it's not so much of a hobby anymore. It's going back to, let's get off the cigarettes. Let's get something to get us off the cigarettes. And that's where
And you're hearing a lot more people coming in to our stores saying, I need to get off the cigarettes.
Yeah.
What do you have for me?
I'm seeing more now than I think I've ever had. Oh, I gotta stop smoking. And a lot of it, look at the price of cigarettes.
They're keep going up.
Yeah.
Vaping hasn't gone up.
Newport's
A little
what?
bit, but not really cigarettes. have.
Yeah, Newports, for example, $9 a pack. That's a lot.
And they
That's a lot.
change like monthly.
Yep.
So
If not sooner. I mean, they're always going up. And that's a big thing. I mean, you look at vaping and you think, oh, well, what's that initial investment? The initial investment is your heftiest. After that, it's relatively cheap. Dependent. If you want to make it expensive, you can.
you could. It
But-
could be a collector's item
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I know people will buy every mod in our cases
Yep.
just
They do
because
it.
they don't have it
Yep.
and they want it.
Yep. And they see something new and there it is.
And they don't use it.
Yeah, it sits.
It just sits
But they
there.
have it, and I'm sure they use
It's
it
like
a few times.
it's like
but it's not
collecting
gonna be
sports
big.
cards or anything else that you like to collect.
Same
People just
concept.
like to collect vape cards.
Yep, but at the same time, if you use that vaping product to only quit smoking, and you get what you need and nothing more, you're saving a ton of money. So, the salt nicotine, I'm sure everyone's seen the Mark 10s, the Views. Right now, puff bars.
Puff
are big.
bars, and I actually have one as an example. Hide bars.
Hide bars are better than puff bars.
Yeah.
And that's our version of what we call the disposable.
Disposable, and they only got popular, I'd say, over the last 6 months.
Yep. Oh, exactly. Everyone, the Joel is perfect. Everyone's heard of the Joel. And
The blue.
Yep, blue E6. And what they're doing now is salt nicotine essentially is a stronger nicotine, more concentrated.
More
the whole
concentrated,
point-
but it also scares off some customers and
Yep,
some people.
because it is so high.
But if you really look at it, you break down the difference between salt nicotine and regular juice. Salt nicotine, yeah, it packs a little bit more of a punch. It enters your bloodstream a little longer, faster, it stays in there a little longer, so you feel the effects longer. But if you really break it down, a 35 milligram or 25 milligram, basically whatever the company is putting out there, it's on 3 milligram in normal juice.
Yeah, and that's a good
And
point
a
right
50
there.
is a 6.
That's a good point right there. So to go back to that car analogy, when you look at someone and they're blowing huge clouds out their car windows, they're not using a lot of nicotine. They're using a relatively low amount. And to put this into perspective, if you smoke one cigarette, it's roughly, correct me if I'm wrong, about 18 to 22 milligrams of nicotine per stick.
Yes,
Right.
which in a bottle of vape juice is only 3% of nicotine
Yep.
throughout the whole bottle.
Yep,
So you're
exactly.
not getting 3% every time you hit your vape.
Yeah, exactly. Or 0.3% now.
Around.
0.3%. So it's less than 1% when you're seeing those people blowing the huge clouds. And that's why, because there's not a lot of nicotine, so it's not hitting the back of your throat a lot. It's relatively smooth. But since you're taking in so much vapor, it's counteracting that.
Yeah, and
With
I
the
mean,
salt
you
nicotine,
you can vape it in many ways. If you're using a super low power device with certain coils, it's more of a mouth to lung hit, just like a cigarette.
exactly. And
You're
that's the
using
whole point of it, right? To
More
make it feel
sub-ohm
like a cigarette.
more sub-ohm coils, you're gonna get those bigger clouds.
Yep.
So I mean, a lot of times when I'm talking to a customer, when they're switching over and they're looking for something, relatively not cheaper, but not big of a
It's
hit.
a little more cost efficient.
Efficient.
Cost efficient.
And
Because I mean,
You're
that's the
looking
thing.
for more of that, cigarette pull, that tighter draw, that more mouth to lung, because they're used to it.
And we just use that analogy. Don't feel like if you go with what they call a low power device, and that's for your salt nicotine, because you're taking in a lot more nicotine, it's going to act like a cigarette. Don't take it as, oh, you're taking the cheap way out. There's nothing wrong with
It
throwing
could
a
be the
salt
better
device.
option for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
I've
got
been on salts personally for at least a year.
Yeah.
I haven't gone back to normal juice. I've tried. They last a day.
I use
And then
both.
I'm on salts.
I
I
use
know
both.
you go back and forth.
Yeah.
You have your phases where one week
Yeah.
you're on your salt device, the next week you're pulling out.
Pulling out something else.
Something else.
and That's what I go with. It all depends what I'm in the mood for.
Because I know you had a new favorite juice that we just brought in.
Yeah, I did. It's called Get Things. It's a new line.
We actually
And,
have it.
Yeah, we have it
here
here
in our
Right
store
here.
right now,
And
so-
it's our new juice line, and It's awesome stuff. So I mean, we'll get into flavors in a little bit, but to cut off that, not really cut off it, but to go back to that salt phase, that's the thing. There's so much out there for everybody now, and that's where vaping has really come. So
Yeah.
if you go back, it probably sounds like we're going on about this stuff, but if you go back,
But there's a lot to talk
there's a
about.
lot that happened. If you go back 6 to 10 years, you're talking just minor devices, and they got big, and now we still have those big devices, but now we have the smaller ones. But even the smaller devices now are 20 times better than what was out 6 years ago.
Oh, and they're putting out way more wattage than
yeah.
they were 6
And
years ago.
wattage is just essentially power, you know? So like the higher the wattage, the more vapor you kick
The
out.
more vapor you get, the stronger that kick is, that hit. So yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat it. It's like anything. Stuff gets better with time. Look at cell phones. Cell phones went through that stage. Started out super big. They were clunky. I remember my parents were telling me, they said, oh, I remember at first cell phones, they went under the seat in your car.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
in a
bricks.
briefcase.
Yeah, and you had to pull it out. And,
Then you got the big bricks.
yeah, exactly. And then the cell phones, they got small. And then it got to the point where cell phones are an inch wide, you know? And then now they're getting
I
big again.
remember my Razor Mini. It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Is that one that you flipped up?
No. So it was like a normal Razor phone from Motorola
Mhm.
they just brought out a mini one. So it was the same functions, looked the exact same,
It was
but
just
it was
that
just tiny.
Yeah, and people thought that was the coolest thing. Oh, look at this! You don't even see it's
I
on. But
remember
now we're
people in high
carrying
school
computers
that had
around.
phones that were this big.
Yeah.
I could fit it in the palm of my
Yeah,
hand.
the screens were that big.
I
And you're
mean-
like, oh, look how big the screen is. The cameras, even themselves, the cameras on them all. This camera's so good. And meanwhile, if you go in motion, it's taking 2 seconds to load the new screen because the cameras were so far behind.
And vaping has done that.
Vaping's done
look
the
at-
same exact thing.
Look at mech mods or even just, dual 18650 devices from 4 years ago. You dropped it and it broke.
Yep.
Now they're so shock resistant, they're waterproof,
Yep.
they're dust resistant. I mean,
Yeah,
I've known
that's
people
huge.
that beat their ages apart,
Yep.
and it continues to work day in and day out, and they don't have to buy a new one.
Mhm.
And I mean,
Oh, exactly.
we have an example of another product of not ages, but of smock, which
Yeah.
a
So
lot
for
of
those of
people-
you out there that don't know,
Smock
we'll
is
get
one
to
of-
this stuff. So.
Smock is also one of the biggest companies out there.
Yeah, if you go to any vape shop, brick or mortar store, stuff like that, Smock's
You can
gonna
shop
be-
online.
Yeah,
Smock is
Smock comes up. and
Pop up. They
it's-
have thousands of products of different tanks, different coils, different devices. They do everything from low power devices to what I have is the new Scar 18.
Yeah,
Dual 18650, super durable, super lightweight, even with batteries in it.
yep.
I mean,
You can't beat it. I mean, I have a customer that was actually using, now Aegis, we mentioned that a few times, that's Geek Vape. So Geek Vape and Smock right now, they're probably the two,
I would say they're the two biggest
they're the
companies
two
out
biggest
there.
ones out there. I mean, they're coming out with so much good stuff, and
We're both
hit-
using Geek Vape stuff, so.
Yeah, and you hit on the durability. These things are so durable that I had a customer that climbed AT&T cell towers. That's what he does. He goes up and he fixes stuff up there, and I don't know exactly what it is. I mean,
That's
I don't know.
Greek to
But
me.
yeah, I have no idea. But he climbs giant cell phone towers, and he dropped one about halfway up. Dropped his mom. Now they say they're drop resistant up to 6 feet, so don't go trying this. I don't think. I don't know
Wait,
if
we
it's
should
about-
also come back to you throw mods around the store.
Yeah, I have this guy, this little salt device by Geek Vape. I mean, I just get bored and I start chucking it. I demonstrate, you know.
So-
And it still works. So he dropped one about halfway up this telephone tower and picked it up and kept using it. So that's how durable
His
these
tank
are.
wasn't broken?
His tank was broken. His tank was broken, but it's a lot cheaper to fix a tank than it is.
You have
now.
a point there, but
Yeah.
there are some tanks where they say there are also shockproofs.
Yeah,
so
no, the tanks I don't trust.
I don't
Tanks
believe
trust.
that one
Yeah,
yet
they're
until
glass.
I actually see someone.
Like, they going back to the cell phone thing. I mean, oh yeah, this one has Gorilla Glass. Oh, then you knock it over on a table and it's smashed. So
I
it's-
remember one of my Blackberries. Every time I would drop it, even off my couch, which was like 3 inches.
Yeah, probably on the carpet.
Yeah,
It broke.
and my
Yeah.
screen was
So,
shattered, and
nothing-
or went black, and I had no cell phone.
Exactly, but yet I threw my phones around and had no issue. So nothing's foolproof. If it does say, oh, it's shock resistant, it doesn't mean it's not going to break. It just means that, hey, you have a little bit more insurance when you're buying that you know, hey, this could take a little bit of a beating.
Yeah, when I also say waterproof, I don't mean go in the ocean with it. It's like 6
Yeah,
feet.
it's like, oh, if you end up spilling
water on
spilling
you,
water on it,
or if
stuff
you
like that.
end up going
I've done
to a
that too. I've
pool,
taken this and poured a water bottle on top of it.
or if you jump in a pool by accident and get pushed in and you're
Yeah.
in and out,
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay.
Now with that, change your coil. Don't be vaping water. Don't want that. But
Yeah, but also don't go in the swimming in the
Yeah,
ocean
don't
with
go
your
swimming
mom.
with your mod. Yeah.
So-
we don't want any of that.
So
So
I don't want you to
take
get
that-
confused with that either.
Take that with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean, oh, let's do whatever we want. But for the most part, they are pretty durable. And I think that's what really that was the whole point of this video, was to talk about how far it's come, how much it helps people.
Just
And
get an intro into vaping,
To
and
vaping
the
as a
vaping
whole.
world, because it
it has such a bad stigma around it.
absolutely
And-
and it changes so much that it's hard for us who work in a vape store and do vape orders and look at vape products all the time.
And
We're always
the thing
looking
is-
for new stuff, and we are surprised sometimes when we see something that we didn't know was coming out.
Exactly, and that's the thing, and it's changing so much that sometimes it's hard for us to keep up on it. And
Yeah.
we look at this stuff all the time. And going back to the bad stigma, I mean, we can't stress this enough. I mean, people come in, and I'm sure they do it to you. They do it to me all the time. And every time that there's a bad report of something happening, which again is most likely user error, and if you follow the rules and you're cautious and you pay attention to what you have, you'll have no issues. But every time something happens, I get customers that walk in and they just grill me with questions. And that's what we're here for. We're here to answer
We're here
questions.
to answer any
But
question.
a lot of the questions they have happen to do with, are these safe? Are these gonna blow up? This and that. Do these work? Is it healthy?
I've seen it blow up in YouTube videos or
Yeah.
on the news. Is the device I'm gonna use today gonna blow up in my hand?
Yep. Long story short, yes. I get a lot of, it is safe, 110% safe.
But you have to also know how to
You
use
have
your
to know how to
device.
use it. Another thing, people ask, oh, is this healthy? They give you a good representation. And to put it lightly, since we're behind the counter, people don't always take us seriously because they may have the mindset that, oh, we're just trying to sell stuff. Well, that's not really the case.
We're here to help
We're
people.
here to help you. We're here to help you with whatever it is. It doesn't even matter if it's helping you turn it on, you know?
Or change your coil.
I had a customer who
Whatever.
came in, he was 95 years old. Came in with a walker, and he was walking pretty slow. I mean, he was an elderly man, so he made his way to the counter, and he told me, he goes, I've been smoking for about 80 years. So when you put that in perspective, it's around 15, 20,
Around
he
there.
started, yeah, 15, 20 years old. He's been smoking his whole life, and he's like, I gotta stop. So he bought a vape, hasn't touched a cigarette since. And it worked for him after 8 years of
It
smoking.
can work for anyone.
It's gonna work for anyone, it's a matter of
But it's
finding
also,
the right
it's
device.
finding the right device, and also, like we said before, training yourself to use that device instead of picking up a cigarette.
Exactly.
So
And that's it. So,
and there's easy options, like we talked about the high bars, all those, the disposable industry itself. You guys
and
are,
one more quick note. We talked about the disposables. You can find them anywhere.
you can find them anywhere, and it's also a cheaper alternative to cigarettes,
Yeah.
and to understand and see if you're gonna like vaping.
Yeah. They're not as powerful as the other low powered devices. Like if you buy yourself an actual vape itself, it's gonna give you more flavor, you know? More
Yeah.
flavor, more power.
I've gotten always more flavor out of my devices themselves than
Yeah.
using a disposable,
But it's
but
a
it's
good
the convenience
intro.
of it
Yeah.
as well, and it's a good intro into
So like
vaping.
if you're unsure if vaping's for you, it's not for everybody. There are some people it just doesn't work.
They've
but
tried
it's
it
like
and
anything.
they quit, and
Yep.
it's just not for
And
them.
that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And we're not here to convince everyone
Yeah,
to go.
we're not
and
telling you
switch
go
vaping.
go get a vape. It's
No.
just a matter of helping you understand what it is.
Yeah. And if you're interested, we are here. We're gonna be here weekly,
Yep.
answering
Every week
questions,
there's a video
answering
coming
problems that you guys have. So don't be afraid to comment, your questions. If you have a topic you guys want us to cover, feel free to do that as well.
Yeah,
We have, great videos planned.
yeah, we have a lot of good ideas. This was just basically an intro, the backstory. We'll go in a little bit more detail.
We'll go into a little more detail, with some new products we have coming
Yeah.
in and stuff like
Why
that.
it's good, why it's better than this, why you should do this, different combinations. People
Even
don't
if you have new
understand.
juice coming in and out, what we're,
Yeah, what we're carrying,
we're definitely
why,
gonna
why
talk
is this
about
better
that.
than that? Why is this combination gonna work better? What's new? What's
Or
out there?
even
What's
like,
hot?
basically why we brought it in, why we thought it was gonna be
Yeah.
a good hit, a big
Exactly.
seller,
Like
stuff
what,
like that.
did that pop with us and why we think it's gonna benefit everything. Which you're gonna see so many videos, you're gonna get sick of seeing us, but we hope you watch us anyway. So I
Absolutely.
think that's pretty good for now.
I think
it's a good
I think we
intro.
covered an intro, and like I said, leave that comment,
Yeah,
subscribe to us so you always see our videos. we'll be here every week talking about stuff. We love talking to each other anyway, so
Yeah, I mean,
it's nothing for us to answer your questions.
Yeah.
You know, just talk vaping. We love vaping, so.
Sounds good. So guys, that basically sums it up for us. We will see you on our next episode of Burning Coils.
Have a good one, guys.